We got one more.
Yeah, man. We're not going to dwell on this one too long, but man, we got to talk about our top 5 corners in this year's draft, man.
Sure.
You know, we've been ranking different position groups. Was it last week we did running backs, O line, and linebackers? So get on these corners. Like I said, we're not gonna go as in depth, but more so just want to make sure y'all got our list so y'all know who our top 5s are in this year's
Just something to talk about before the weekend happens.
Absolutely, man. If we don't give y'all a little bit of that, hey, it's Friday midday content, something to chew on while you enjoying your festivities over the weekend, we're not doing our job. So without further ado, we'll do the same, the 5 and 5, 4 and 4, and then go from there. All right. You want to drop your number 5 first, though?
Yeah, Sante Samuel Jr.
Shout out.
You at 5 too?
I absolutely do. Yeah.
So I've seen some rankings that have him really low in like the 10, 11, or 12 range, but then a lot of people have him around that 4 or 5. And his big knock is that he's probably just going to be a slot corner.
Yeah, he's small.
But in my opinion, like if we drafted him, I don't know what round he's going to go because, like I said, some people have him late first, second, third. Some people have him like 4th.
I've seen that.
Based off the production and stuff, though, and what he was bringing to the table at Florida State, I'm assuming it's going to be higher as opposed to later. So if we got him, that's the thing. Let's just focus on running back and offensive line. I'm just thinking because we got linebacker taken care of now. I'm like,
that's the thing.
Though, could our third need be cornerback now? All of a sudden?
No, it is. So for me,
someone we look at in the 2nd or 3rd round.
So for me, I was doing a couple of mocks, and that's what I was thinking. I'm like, all right, what's more pressing? I said O line is numero uno. If I can get one of the top 3 high end backs early in the 2nd, great. Then after that, I said I'm looking for a corner. Because even though me and you and a good amount of Steeler Nation are high on James Pierre, some people are still thinking that Justin Lane, because he was more of a project when he got here, thinking that he's ready to take that next step. I still want to bring in another person of a little bit higher pedigree to just throw in that mix. Because we know Justin Lane was a high pedigree pick, but more development. We know James Pierre was a low pedigree pick, but he's really, produced. I want to just throw another guy in that mix. So now we have just another option. I'm not a fan of, all right, it's going to be one of these two, but this guy has really, been trending down, where this guy's kind of trending up, but, just the different variables around it. Just throw somebody else in there to just give us another, perspective to really gauge that. Because right now it could be just the whole recency bias of, we saw James Pierre in week 17 in the playoffs. He played well. All right, Justin Lane, he played well at the beginning of the season. Then at the end of the year, he started to struggle. All right, well, Justin's been here longer. He hasn't produced. All right, we're going to give it to James. Like, I don't want that. And I don't want them to say, well, you know what, Justin, we drafted him higher. He's a great athlete. I think he brings a little more to the table from a range standpoint. But James Pierre is more productive. But we drafted Justin, so we're going to put Justin gets the opportunity. I don't want that. Give me another person in there. And now we can really go through this and decide, who's the really, who's going to be the most effective player. That's just how I think of it.
And it doesn't seem like he plays cornerback like Pierre, Justin Lane.
Yeah.
In my opinion, if he's there in like the 3rd round and we somehow take him, like he'd be a good replacement for Mike Hilton.
Yeah.
It seems like he's not afraid to hit, get in the mix, blitz, just making plays out there.
The big thing with Asante, he's of the top like 6, 7 corners, he's probably the smallest. I mean, he's about 5'10", 184. Where these other guys, I mean, Patrick Surtain, Caleb Farley, they're 6'2", J.C. Horn 6'1", the kid out of Georgia 6'2". Like, these some big corners. Whereas with Asante, he does, like, just stature-wise, figure more into the slot. Can he play on the outside? Sure, but what he's going to have is just great ball skills in terms of not interceptions, because you're not going to be as tall as some of these receivers. You're going to have to understand playing through these guys' hands. But we already know the problem that is with some of these elite receivers, they're not bringing it down.
Yeah,
so
Hopkins is going to one-hand it.
Exactly. So just by size alone, you're already at a competitive disadvantage. That's typically why he would slot more into this into the slot role, which is why I had him at 5 on mine, because I'm just like, I can't put him in that top 3 or anything like that if you're not at the NFL level going to play primarily out there. I just don't think he can do it.
I'm assuming that's why people have him sliding he's small, too, right? Because it's like, oh, do you want to...
He's productive, though. He's a
good
that's
what
player.
I'm saying. Like, do you want to spend a high draft pick on someone that's just going to be in the slot?
Yeah.
But without the NFL changing, how many snaps did Mike Hilton play last year?
Dude, they're going to play 80%,
and you just saw what he got
You're going to be in the slot, yes.
So, like, if you had that guy that could just be a lockdown
Yeah.
slot corner for you and make plays and is not afraid to hit people and blitz,
Yeah.
that can make sense. So, if he's there in the 3rd round, I'd be kind of pumped about that.
I would as well, man.
Yeah.
I definitely would.
Who's 4?
All right. So, for me at number 4, I went with Greg Newsome out of
Whoa,
Northwestern.
do we have the same list?
No way.
Yeah.
I went with Greg, man. I like his game, man. I do. It's something like for me, I like bigger corners. Like I like that 6'1", almost like he's 190, but in that 200, like flirted around. I don't want you too high over 200. I don't want you too low past 200. But like I like the size that he has. Productive player as well.
Pretty
man.
much locked down this
Absolutely.
season.
Like look, he balled out. He looked good. So for me, like I like that element about him, man. And if now I don't think we would have a chance at getting him. I don't think it's gonna happen.
2nd round?
See, this is the thing, bro. I've seen mocks where
I've seen him where he's the number
there.
3.
Yeah, that's my thing. Like, it's a great cornerback class right now in terms of they have plenty of depth, right? You might see 4 of these guys go in the 1st round and then another 2 to 3 go in the 2nd round. Like, that's realistic. So, yeah, with Greg, I the more I watched, I said when I take Asante out, Greg, JC, Caleb, and Patrick, I was like, man, I don't now. The top 2 guys, I think, is going to be different. They're a little bit separated. But as a whole, though, I just feel like you're not really – I don't think you can go wrong with those guys. You know what I mean? I don't think it's as big a drop-off. Similar to what we said with the big 3 running backs, right? It was like, I don't think you're going to have, oh, I got Etienne. Oh, man, this is terrible. I got Harris. Oh, this is terrible. I got Javonte. Oh. Like, no. Any of those guys you get, I think they're going to do well. They're going to help you out a ton.
Just depending on what you value a little bit more. Like,
absolutely.
Each of those running backs have a little bit of a different element to their game. Yeah. And probably same with the cornerbacks, too.
Absolutely, man. But who you have it for, man? You said you have him as well?
I'm with you. I have Greg Newsome at 4.
Sheesh.
Yeah. This is going to be an interesting top 3, though.
I need you to go 3 then. Well, actually, why'd you have Greg at 4?
Huh? All the reasons you said, man. It looks like he has some pretty high potential. And he was really locked down this season. I was looking at some of these stats, like the amount of yards and receptions that he gave up were really low. Yeah. And it seems like he has it's not like he just played good in college. It looks like he has the potential that will translate over to the NFL, has the speed. Yeah. So I'm good with him at 4. He kind of came out of nowhere because there is this whole big 3.
Yeah.
The more research I did, I'm like, dude, I don't know why anyone doesn't have him in their top 5, because there are some people that have the cornerbacks at 4 or 5, like all different ways. Like you said, they have the dude from Georgia up there. They have there's probably about 5 or 6 players that you could put in that 4 or 5 spot, depending on what your preferences are.
And you'll be fine. Like that's what when I looked, I was like, yo, this is great. I mean, it's great for us because it's like we got a ton of names we can choose from and a ton of guys that we can research, and even better for the Steelers because like if you do want to go corner, you at least have somebody that you could get in the 2nd or 3rd round. They could be 1st round talent, but just because of how deep it is, like that guy fell to you. So without a doubt, man, yeah, this is good right here. This is good.
We just want to list off our top 3s then.
Yeah. Who, all right, yeah.
Number 3, I want Patrick Surtain or Surtain, right?
Surtain,
Patrick Surtain.
Surtain the 2nd, man. Give his dad some respect too, man.
I know he was good. I mean, we got 2 former. Former players' sons.
Yeah.
Actually, 3 in our list. Asante Samuel, too.
Oh, yeah. He's junior, yeah. Mm-hmm.
But in our top 3.
Patrick. Shout out to his dad, too. Just catch the pick. If you catch it, it's a different conversation, man. People don't like you because you dropped the pick.
Patrick Surtain at 3. I honestly think they did a spell check on me. It's Caleb Farley, right? Not Fairley?
Yeah, Farley.
Yeah, the notes did a spell check.
Did it hit you right?
They threw Fairley in there. So Caleb Farley at 2. JC Horn at number 1.
Ooh. Yep. All right. So for me, I have JC Horn at 3.
Whoa. I'm interested in this.
Caleb Farley at 2 and Patrick Surtain at 1.
I think I know why we have our list different. I'm all upside on mine.
You're definitely upside. I'm
the opposite.
Like,
he's like the safe play.
Yes.
That's it.
The duality of man, ladies and gentlemen. This is beautiful. Because that's definitely it. But think about every time we talk prospects, every time we talk players, I'm always who's pro ready? Who's ready to go right now? All right. And that's kind of how I go down my list, whereas you're like, upside. That's what I want. So you can see where both of them, they can be successful, but also why you have to have balance, right? I can't always be like this. You can't always be like that. But as a whole, I definitely like that list, though, man. Like for me, you hit it on the head. Patrick is to me day one ready to go. I look at him in the same vein as Charles Woodson, meaning this: come in, you're gonna play corner early on in your career. Then on the back end, you're transitioning back to safety. That like people are already questioning if he's gonna be able to hold up out there corner because of how big he is.
What's funny too is people are questioning his speed. He ran like a 4.4 something.
Yeah, he plays fast. He ran 4.4. It's just like, but the problem is he's a big corner. Like he's big, and with big corners, you got to be like Jalen Ramsey. That's what they want to see. All right, you need to be low. You need to be 4.3. You need to be able to fly, strike out. And that's the part where they're questioning, okay, because you're not going to have the best hips. Like when you're bigger, these guys, even though they're bigger and straight line fast, Asante has the better like lateral and hips, but that's because he's smaller. So typically that's why in the past corners were usually smaller because you're doing more of the lateral side to side stuff. Whereas now receivers are getting bigger and freakier. So you start looking for bigger corners, guys that can hold up out there with those bigger body guys. But the problem you do run into is if that speed, all right, what that speed gonna look like? You know, it's easy to run that 4.46 when you're fresh and you're running at 40 right now, shirt and shorts, climate control, everything is good. Once you start getting later in the year, that extra weight you got, that size you got, it's a little bit different. It does play a role, and that's why I think people have been a little, down on Surtain from that standpoint. But for me, that doesn't scare me. Like I said, I'm gonna have you at corner early on while you're young and fresh. Hopefully, it's a couple of years, And then after that, man, you're gonna move right back there to safety. I'm gonna get another 5 to 7 up out you, and we're gonna be good to go.
Interesting.
Yeah. Caleb, I like Caleb a lot.
Bro, he actually might have the most upside.
He does. I
didn't play last year, some injuries.
That's the injury part scares me a little bit, not too much. Not like the kid from Alabama. So it's not to that extent, but that's the reason why I have him at 2 versus Surtain, because it's like, well, dude, I know you're healthy, you're good to go. No concerns, you ball out all the time. You look great. Caleb, he has great potential though. He does.
4.28, 40. And he's got the size too.
I know. Like you watch him, and you tell me if I'm wrong. You can see the speed difference when Surtain is closing versus when Farley's closing. Man, I've seen Farley have a terrible read, and he's fast enough to get back there and make the play. You're just like, that's different. I like that a lot. But my initial problem is Surtain's not gonna make the bad read. Whereas with Caleb, you might run into that a little bit.
He's only played cornerback 2 years too.
Yeah, so he's still developing, right?
A lot of upside.
We saw that with TJ Watt. TJ Watt had 2 years of outside linebacker experience, and then came here, learned on the fly, and now you see what he is. So I like that as well. But for me, like I said, if I'm picking, and it depends on what team I'm talking about too. If we're talking about a team that's picking, top 10, it's a difference of, all right, do I need this guy to be the face of my franchise or make my defense elite right now? Or am I picking all right, we got everything else in place. I don't need you to be the best corner today. You can develop a little bit. You can still learn your way a little bit. Well, then I might be thinking more Caleb. But to me, that's the biggest difference between those two guys right there. All right, do I need a guy who's coming in day one and he's ready to go? Or a guy who might take a little bit more time just to get more comfortable with the position?
So what's your knock on Horn? Because he's got the speed, he's got the size too, but then the physicality and the big playability.
I don't have a knock on him. It's just I like the other guys better.
Gotcha.
Like he was raw. Like I would watch South Carolina because Deion Sanders' son was over there at the time. Now he's obviously transferred to Jack State with his dad, but I would watch because of that. And he would always flash. And you're just like, oh, okay, that's why he ain't out there. That's why he ain't playing, because this dude is a freak. Like you said, big, fast, physical. I love physical corners. I don't want corners that's gonna shy away. Business decisions. It's only one corner that I don't care about their tackling, and that's Prime Time, because he was so elite at the other stuff. It's like when you're able to just take a team won't even look over there. I don't care about your tackling. But we haven't seen another corner doing it like that since then. So it's just like, nah, bro, you need to tackle. And with JC, you could definitely do that, man. And he played in the SEC, which I absolutely love. That was the other thing in terms of why I wanted Surtain over Caleb. SEC, on the weekly SEC, you know what that is. ACC, you be playing some. Come on, baby. I know you got your Clemson. All right, I hear you, but we done seen some of these ACC teams, baby, and how they stack up for some of these lower end SEC teams, and you're just like, bruh, It's different. It's different. So
Cool.
that I do like that a lot about JC, man.
Cool. Well, our lists
Yeah.
were pretty close.